Welcome to page 3 of your assignment. Here we'll be multiplying rational numbers. Remember, as we multiply, use the Margar rules. Let's read. Sometimes you can divide two pairs of numbers to simplify a multiplication problem. Let's take a look. Let's move downward. Let's start right here. We have a negative times a positive fraction. Remember, when you have a negative times a positive, your result will be negative. But let's work on some reducing. Let's take a look at the 3 and the 9. We can divide a 3 out of each of these. When we reduce, this becomes a 1, and 9 divided by 3 leaves us with a denominator of 3. Now let's take a look at the numerator of 2 and denominator of 8. We can divide a 2 out of each of these. 2 divided by 2 becomes 1, and 8 divided by 2, of course, is 4. Now we're ready to multiply. 1 times 1 is 1, and for our denominator, 4 times 3 is 12. Our answer, negative 1/12. Let's try the problem directly below that problem. Here we have a negative times a negative, which will give us a positive result. But let's reduce. As we look at the 2 and the 10, we see we can divide a factor of 2 out of each. This becomes 5, and this numerator becomes a 1. Now let's look at the 9 and the 21. We know we can divide a 3 out of each of these. As we factor out a 3, we get a 7 in the denominator here and a 3 in the numerator here. Top times top is 3. Bottom times bottom, 35. We get positive 3 over 35. Let's move to the bottom of the page and multiply 3 rational numbers. We'll take a look at this problem right in the middle. Let's try to do some cross-reducing. For example, we know we can take one denominator and one numerator and factor out a common factor. In this case, we can factor out or divide out a 2. 2 divided by 2 becomes 1. 4 divided by 2 becomes a denominator of 2. If we look at the 3 and the 9, we can factor out a common value of 3. 3 divided by 3 becomes 1, but 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now, let's multiply. Let's take the first two fractions and multiply. A negative times a positive will give us a negative fraction. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Now bring down this fraction, which is now 3/10, a positive 3/10. And let's continue to multiply. A negative times a positive, of course, gives us a negative answer. And then top times top, that's 3. Bottom times bottom, 2 times 10 is 20. We get a negative 3/20. Let's try one more together before we pause the video and you do some work on your own. Let's go right here and take a look at this problem. First of all, we see that it is a positive times a negative. We know a positive 5/14 times a negative 4/5 will give us a negative result. We certainly can see that we can factor a 5 out of each of these. 5 divided by 5 is 1. And we also have to do the same to this numerator. That's 1. But take a look at the 14 and the 4. A common factor here would be 2. This 14 divided by 2 is 7. 4 divided by 2 becomes 2. And that's all we can do. So let's multiply. Top times top is 2. Bottom times bottom is 7. Negative 2 sevens. Now complete the rest on your own. Pause the video. When you're done, turn the video back on and check your work. Here are the answers. Negative 1/5, positive 1/4, positive 1/2, negative 2/5, negative 1/10, negative 1/6, and a positive 4/33. This concludes page 3.